at a time when India is agitated about farmers, about the economy, about the virus. What do you feel about the fact that your home, your ancestral home at Shantiniketan, at Visva Bharati, is suddenly in the eye of a storm with claims that apparently your property encroaches that of what is now the Central University of Visva Bharati?
Absolutely no idea. I would much rather, as an economist, try to talk about what the policy should be to deal with the economic crisis, which of course began before the COVID-19 crisis, but got much worse. So there's need for economic recoursing, certainly, but it's not my preference to talk about my house. And the whole thing, there's something quite mysterious. The house was taken, the land was taken on lease 80 years ago, and suddenly 80 years later, I'm told there was something wrong with the lease. They're not disputing there's a lease, but they're saying we have more land on which we are sitting than in the lease. Of course, along with the lease, my father also bought a number of plots which were put together. And it is possible that Visva Bharati is just making a mistake rather than being pernicious, as they seem to be doing. But we don't know, because even though Visva Bharati has been complaining that we're sitting on Visva Bharati's land, there has not been any letter from them. We have had no communication. Our last communication is a long time ago. And so we just don't know what makes them think that, what makes them decide it and make public announcement without one word with me. And so it's something totally mysterious.
Well, your home, Protichi, are you saying that you have not heard a word from Visva Bharati University about the dispute? No one has actually sent you a legal notice or a letter or anything of the kind in all these years?
Not about this dispute at all. But of course, 80 years ago, my father did talk with them when he took the lead. And when my father died, and then eventually when my mother died, I also had to talk with them to change the name of the leaseholder from being my father or mother to me. And we have had a conversation at that time. Perfectly normal conversation. I wasn't told anything untoward that got into the lease. Then I was suddenly told, but you are actually a usurper of the land, and you are sitting on more land than in the lease. I wasn't told that myself. That's what they told the media. Their communication is with the media, not with me. And even with the media, they haven't ever explained how do they know and why do they think we are using a bigger portion of the land than is in the lease. And they don't even seem to acknowledge that we have purchased some land around, that my father did in the 1940s, which are all registered, of course, in this Shul Moja. And so we have documents on that, records on that. So there's, on our side, there's no problem. But we don't know who to talk to, because Vice Chancellor goes on breathing fire and announcing to the public that I've done something terrible. And the public often believes it. I see, when I see the newspapers report that Professor Sen must be very aware that he's sitting on somebody else's land. Now, I don't believe we are doing that. We don't believe that there was any communication on this subject from Visva Bharati. But if you say nasty things about Visva, and I'm told that given the fact that there is a background electoral preparation going on, and since I thought to be not sympathetic to BJP, which is probably, in fact, a correct statement, that I'm told that they have an interest in undermining me as an analyst, as a human being, as a person with some views, and a Bengali who doesn't like the encroachment of any communalist agenda in Bengal. We have fought against that. We had a lot of bloodshed in the 1940s. When I remember that as a child, both in Dhaka and in Kolkata. And I certainly don't want a return of communalism to Bengal. All that is true. And maybe there is a case for me to be undermined for those who would love to have some communalism in West Bengal. But these are just wild guesses. We don't know anything because no one is telling us anything. They're only telling the media and not even the full story as to why do they think that some more land is occupied by